CNN headline is 3,000 U.S. flights are canceled as a global computer outage wreaks havoc on businesses. So we thought we'd get on here and just talk about how things are kind of breaking apart in our society, and I think it can be laid at the feet of DEI.
But
For people who don't know, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So people are hiring based on these aspects, which are basically aspects: your skin color, your sexuality, and your gender. Hello and welcome to the Brothers Random Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Michael.
And we are two ordinary brothers discussing extraordinary ideas and some random shit. Michael, why are we here?
Today, we are talking about how the cult of DEI is killing a meritocracy. Let's get into it.
Yes. I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock, but lately we have experienced in this country a serious lack of meritocracy, and it is killing competency. We are no longer a competent society. What's the latest headline, Michael?
Well, we just had a Microsoft Microsoft CrowdStrike issue causes largest IT outage in history. Largest IT outage in history. And they had United, Delta, and American Airlines issued a global ground stop of all flights.
CNN headline is 3,000 U.S. flights are canceled as a global computer outage wreaks havoc on businesses. So we thought we'd get on here and just talk about how things are kind of breaking apart in our society, and I think it can be laid at the feet, and you as well think it can be laid at the feet of DEI.
Yeah, Tim Kennedy made a point, and I actually was thinking about this when Tim Kennedy was on Chris Williamson's show, and he talked about how he's like, listen, guys, we're a few years, because DEI really really started hard about 5-6 years ago. Right. And I mean,
and that would be,
it's been in the colleges for a while, but
for people who don't know, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So people are hiring based on these aspects, which are basically aspects: your skin color, your sexuality, and your gender. So now when you're hired at a big corporation or something like that, they used to not have to ask you your sexuality, but now if somebody offers up, oh yeah, I'm a gay person, then they can check off a box and so, oh, we're gonna hire you based on that, not based on your abilities as
your merit,
as
not
a person,
based on your competency,
yes,
your track record of success,
yes,
but based off of your skin color or based off of your sexuality or your gender. And this is exactly, and so we get this real push. But these people, it takes time for some of these people in organizations to get up to. That's what I'm saying. Tim Kennedy was talking about this.
Okay.
But like, it takes time for these people to get up into like real positions of leadership. And now we saw in the Secret Service with the total lack of competency that happened with the assassination attempt on Trump's life. There should have been somebody where there wasn't, and it didn't happen. And there's a lot of blame to go around. Somebody effed up and they should be fired. But also the buck stops at Kimberly Cheadle.
Kimberly
Cheadle. The buck stops at Kimberly Cheadle, who has like lack of competency. Hello. She gets up there and she says, we didn't want agents up on that roof because it was a safety hazard.
There was a slope or something like that.
Are you kidding me? And then they're up there, like, you got pictures of these guys all looking down at the dead body of this shooter. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So the
Well, and
then
I
we
would
have this
argue
breach.
I would argue that that's an excuse she thought would get uh like people would go, "Oh, well that makes sense," but she obviously she's incompetent at her job. We saw this during the shootings. We saw a agent who was overweight, who could not put her gun back in her holster. The agent looked like nobody knows how they would act in that situation, but I'm pretty sure because of my non-training, my inability, I'd look like her. And not protecting the president, the ex-president of the United States, I would look like her. I would be trying to act like I knew what I was going on while holding a firearm and not really knowing where to put it. And
But
then
you
trying to
would never be a diversity hire.
I would never be a diversity hire. So, I mean,
you don't fall into any of the categories.
I don't fall into any of the categories. And she did, and she's shorter than the president. That's a big issue. Most of the women, the president, Trump, the ex-president, soon to be the new president, is a tall man. He's something like 6'3" or something like that. And they have these diversity hire women. Now, I'm not against women being in the Secret Service, but maybe get some competent women. They looked incompetent. They were shorter than him. And if you're supposed to use your body as a shield, you better be as tall as that guy. So they've got these diversity hires who don't know what they're. This lady literally didn't look like she knew what was going, like what she was
like
doing.
what she was doing. Yeah. It's and I don't know if you watched this with Tim Kennedy and Chris Williamson, and he talked about watching the film of because you can see counter snipers up on a roof kind of in the corner above Trump. And they're the ones that took him out. But he got it was several shots off before they took him out.
Well, I've heard a few numbers. I've heard 8, and then I've heard 3 shots. So I don't know. So I don't know exactly what it was, but
we're not sure quite yet. But he was critiquing, and he was just like, this guy's never been in a fight. This guy, he kind of jerked when the first fire shot.
Oh, he's saying the counter sniper had never been in a firefight.
Hadn't seen action. So who knows? He was just saying his opinion. He probably has never seen action, and so they kind of had a knee-jerk reaction.
The holster lady's never seen action. She looked how I would look. Like her face, she's scared. She's mortified.
Kind of panicky.
Kind of panicked, and then like doesn't know what to do, so she's just like holding her gun like this, and like look like she doesn't know what
she couldn't put the gun away, and so she decides,
kept holding it like I just hold it and like do this, and she looked how I would look if I was in that situation. It was so, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about meritocracy. So let's imagine a scenario where the person who's running the software program that you just mentioned was hired based on one of those DEI attributes, right?
And we don't know.
And we don't know.
We don't know really, but this is a societal thing. And we are starting to, I think we're at the beginning of starting to see all these
the effects
DEI,
of it.
the non-merit hires, the non-merit colleges.
Yes.
We'll get into that. But you start having that just slowly eat away at the culture, and then pretty soon things are going to just stop working. Like they're just not going to work
like they used to.
And it'll just kind of it's a slow process. It's a cultural thing. But maybe it'll get better because people are talking about it right now. Vivek Ramaswamy and Douglas Murray had a really good conversation. It's a year old now, but they had a really great conversation about this this breakdown of mediocre or of a
A
meritocracy.
meritocracy. And we used to be a society that kind of was kind of based on that. Like the basically the cream rises to the top. The people who are the best do the best, get into their to be the best. I mean, this was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago when the whistleblower from Google was like pointing out that the people that were being hired were not as qualified as he was, and
Mm,
they fired him for whistleblowing it, like
mm,
saying, and he was like, and he like filed a lawsuit, and all kinds of stuff happened. There was that. Then there was also the shutdown earlier this year of Facebook.
yeah.
Facebook completely shuts down, and it's, we shouldn't live in a world where mistakes can't be made, but at the high levels, it's weird when mistakes are made, like at the
Yeah.
very echelons of our society. A
Well, and that was
breakdown in a software program that grounds 3,000 flights, like that is almost unheard of. When was the last time we had 3,000 flights grounded?
well
I think it was 9/11.
9/11. It would have been 9/11 probably. The big thing is that it is largest IT outage in history. That's I mean that
That
made
says
history,
that made history
right?
right there.
So
Yeah.
like but the thing is and kind of like to what you're saying, mistakes, we shouldn't not allow for mistakes to be made, but the idea of college generally was just so that you can make those mistakes on a small level, like in
Yeah.
a
In a
you
controlled
know
environment.
controlled environments, rising up to the point where you do get to those high levels, and now you're not making those mistakes because you've already made those mistakes in a controlled environment in college, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and this let's get into the college thing, because we've been, this is years now
Yeah.
of
10, at least
safe
10. We've been in this
safe
safe spaces. Yeah.
spaces,
Yeah.
and puppies if you feel bad, and kicking people off their campus that don't agree with their views. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Are you so thin-skinned that you can't even like handle somebody? Not even, you don't even have to hear their contrary opinions. You don't have to go, but just making sure that they can't come onto
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
campus.
Yeah.
Are you like opposing opinions? Are you
Opposing
kidding
opinions.
me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Jordan Peterson says this. There's a famous quote from him where he's basically like, you must allow ideas, even bad ones, to come out, because then other people can challenge those ideas, and then the bad ideas, they die off, they go away.
They can die rather than you.
Than you.
This is evolution 101.
Yeah.
We want our bad ideas to die before we do.
Yes.
Right.
And see, and that's what we're doing is rather than kill off the ideas, we're shutting people off with the good ideas. And now we have all this run amok dysfunction,
or just that we are
incompetence.
not.
There's a ton of
Yeah.
incompetence going around right now.
Yeah. Or if we put so much emphasis on feelings, then if somebody does something wrong, you can't criticize them because it might hurt their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pretty soon you got somebody who you just don't know what they did wrong, and it doesn't really affect anything till they're out in the real world into some real leadership positions. And then it's like
maybe head of maybe you're head of an
and
IT
an ear
program
gets blown off of a former president and you fucked up.
Well, and that's or you're the head of an IT programming company, and you ground a bunch of flights because you screwed up somewhere, because an update wasn't properly installed, or I don't know the details of it. I'm not an IT person, but the point is that if we keep going this route, things will consecutively get worse. And a few years ago, this is what, 2 years ago, there was that train derailment
Mhm.
in Palestine, Ohio, I guess it was, or what.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. Okay, I
remember
remember
this?
this. Yeah, and a bunch of
And
chemical got.
a bunch of a
Yeah.
huge chemical spill. It was we don't usually have those things happen, and if they do, they're on a smaller scale. But the thing is that when they do happen, maybe get rid of the people that caused them to happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everybody's going after this Cheeto lady's job,
Yeah.
deservedly so. She should
Calling for
never,
her to
yeah,
resign. I
calling
think
for her to. She
within
should not
within
have
an
a job.
hour, Elon Musk had tweeted out that she should resign. Like,
So why are they
there's
keeping her there? Why are we keeping her there? Because of
oh, we don't want to hurt her
DEI.
feelings.
We don't want
We
to
want
hurt
to
her
hurt her
feelings.
feelings. DEI. I don't know. Probably. Yeah, probably. Well, and the thing is Biden said that that's exactly what he was going for, was going to be DEI. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to get women into my cabinet. I'm going to get African Americans into, like,
Well, our
and
vice president is a DEI hire. Like she
and
she isn't
her
qualified.
competency
Her
is,
competency level
yeah.
is so low. I mean, she could be there at the time of this
At this point,
recording,
it might be she might be the next nominee.
Democratic nominee.
Yeah. So
At the time of this recording, we don't
we,
know
we don't
what's going
know.
on
We
with
don't
that.
know.
But the point is that she is one of the most incompetent vice presidents I think we've ever had. She has done nothing. She hasn't achieved anything. She was supposed to be in charge of the southern border. Look how that's going. I mean, so the whole point is that this cult of DEI is really, we're pushed to the brink, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And one of the one of the great things that Douglas Murray said in that Vivek Ramaswamy interview with him is, and if you guys don't know who Douglas Murray is, just Google search him. He's got a lot of interesting. He's a very smart man.
Madness of
Um,
Crowds is probably a case in point. And
yes,
that's his
Madness of
book.
Krause. That's his book. He's got several books, but that's his most famous probably. He goes, okay, when we do this DEI, when we try to push the diversity, equity, and inclusion, mantra, it's never for the lower end jobs. It's
Mm.
never for the garbage pickup guy, the plumber, or the construction worker. It's always for the C suites. It's always for some
CEOs,
CEOs,
board members. Yep.
yes. Why is that? It's because everybody wants those jobs. And if you're in a position of using DEI to get to that point, then you're going to use it to get to that point. It's not
Mm.
just the everybody at the lower level wants to be at the higher level. And if you can
Mm-hmm.
find some way to worm your way in there,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to do it. Because they're not talking about construction jobs, and construction jobs like not are overwhelmingly men. They're
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. You see it, you go drive by a construction site, you're gonna see mostly men. Now, occasionally, that's not to say the women don't work in those environments. Occasionally, you will see a woman, but
Yeah.
it's a very rare occasion. But the point is, when we're doing this DI cultism, they're not talking about trying to get more women into construction. They're not talking about getting gay people in construction. They're not talking about getting more people of color in construction. They're just talking about doing it in the echelons of business, of
When it benefits them.
when it
That's
benefits
like
them.
that's the critique on equality. Like, okay, women need to sign up for the draft now.
Yeah.
Whoa, no. Let's not get crazy.
Well,
But
yeah,
no, you want equality when it's, or equity when
when
it
it
suits you.
suits you. One thing that I'd like to point out, and we often do this with our cult series. We have a series of the cult of series. Dr. Stephen Hessen, who started what's called the BITE model of authority. It stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control. One of the things we can do here is kind of apply that. So the B, which is the behavior control. How does DEI control our behavior? Well, it makes everybody on edge. Say you're at an office building, and they've brought in some people who are a little less qualified. Maybe they don't know what they're doing, but because they were, DEI hires, you got to kind of go along to get along, right? So your behavior changes around those people rather than, oh, you made a mistake. It's like, no, 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 you didn't make a mistake. You're good. I'm not gonna, point out your mistakes so that you can improve. I'm just gonna kiss your ass because I'm afraid of getting told that I'm gonna be racist because I told you what to do.
Right, right. Or
Behavior control.
a man who's managing several women, and they don't do the job adequately.
Like being able to put your gun in your holster.
Yeah. Do
you criticize this?
Do you critique that? Yeah. Do you critique them and let them know this was done poorly? If this happens again, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know how it works 100%, but that company, if they have to have a certain percentage of African Americans, if they have to have a certain percentage of
women in the workplace,
of women in the company, and those 4 women that did that job, and he wants to fire them, maybe he can't.
Yeah,
because then they're going to fall below that
requirement,
right? So that definitely is going to cross over into behavior.
Well, that speaks true for the Secret Service. Like, we're seeing what happened when the Secret Service bought into all this stuff, right? So you change your behavior, and your behavior would be, I'm going to fire that incompetent person because they're incompetent, because they're not doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So the next is
and notice she hasn't been fired yet. So like, you get up there and you tell everybody. I think first they said that it was the local law enforcement. Well, that building was supposed to be.
Michael, this goes back to information control.
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
So this is information control. So first she says it was local law enforcement's problem. And then she says it's the slope.
But then they got backlash for that. It's like, oh, you guys just hating on the little guys.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the big budget that you guys do, but, you guys stuff like that. And then they scale that back. Oh, okay. Well, it was a safety hazard.
It was a safety hazard. It was a slope roof. These guys are supposed to be the badass of the badasses, but yet they can't stand on a sloped roof. So that's another thing. So this is an information control, right? She's trying to save her job because she's incompetent. Nobody in the Democratic Party, who kind of controls what she does, wants to get rid of her because of DEI, because they've been told she was a DEI hire. She's a woman running the CIA. I think she's one of the first. I think there was one other. I think there's one before her or something like that. So she's essentially this DEI hire. She's terrible at her job. She didn't do right by it. What's the saying? Don't attribute malice to something you could attribute stupidity to.
Don't attribute malice what can be explained by stupidity.
Yeah. In other words, it's just, I don't think there's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
It's just she's dumb.
It's very possible that there's not any kind of conspiracy going. Well, they told people not to be on there so that he could get up there and shoot him, right? Like,
no,
I really do think that this falls onto the lap of just being incompetent. Like, it just.
Well, and then there's thought control. I don't have any insight, but the lady that couldn't put her gun in her holster, if she's out of the shooting range and she's doing this fumble thing, right? Because she looks like she's overweight. Now they have bulletproof vests on, but she's a bigger gal, so she's having trouble getting it. And now thought control is, she still thinks she's awesome, because everybody around her won't tell her the truth. Everybody's saying, "Oh yeah, you're so good. Go girl, go girl." Instead of trying to improve herself and drop some pounds and get to the point where she
Yeah.
can actually put the gun in the holster. I can imagine her out at the shooting range just thinking she's awesome. That's thought control. That she's just like, "Oh, I was this higher and they're telling me I'm awesome because they're afraid of she's not thinking they're afraid of getting fired for telling her, "Hey, if people were being honest with her, you're you're putting you're having a hard time putting your gun back in your holster. Maybe you should, oh, let's fire that guy because he was mean to me."
Well, and part of thought control would be like if, and Douglas Murray and Vivek talk about this, where we've started to shift from heroism, like loving heroism, to loving victimhood.
Yes.
Well, if your thoughts start to become that you want to use this victim mentality, then you're never going to improve yourself because it's always going to be somebody else's fault.
Yes.
The victim mentality of and this, we saw this, Morgan Freeman was talking with shoot, I'm going to forget his name, but where he says he's like, I keep hearing this, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but we as African Americans, we know that it's harder for us out there. And Morgan Freeman's like, bullshit. Look at us. We've made it. Like we've risen above our station. We worked hard. We made it happen. And he says the bus runs every day. Like if you want to get out of there, get out of there.
The pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing, and you're just being respectable. Not everybody can do that.
Everybody can. Courage is the key to life itself. There are a lot of people who are born in situations where they say, well, I'll never get out of this. So they won't. I say to people who say, well, I would like to have done so and so and so. So, well, you could have done it. So, well, I couldn't get out of here. Man, the bus runs every day.
Yeah. Now, the mentality, though, sometimes if you're told the lie so long, it'll make you think you can't get on the bus and get out. Yeah. Right. And this was Douglas Murray made this comment about a line in The Wire. I haven't watched it, but in The Wire, apparently there's this line where the
boxing coach says, there's a big world out there. And the kid goes, well, how do I get out of here? And the boxing coach goes, I don't know.
Because he's there too. Right. So this thought, so this is coming back to the thought control is like, if you tell somebody they're a victim long enough and tell them it's not their fault,
and tell them
then they have no power over their own life, and they won't change their own station. They won't work on their own competency to make their life better, because the thought control over them is they're a victim and it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah. And then I guess the last in this bite model is emotional control.
Well,
I think we
don't have to go much farther than puppies at colleges to
alleviate anxiety.
To alleviate people's anxiety.
Or safe spaces. You go over there and cry for a little while.
Here we are. We're reaping the rewards of safe spaces.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Everybody gets a trophy. Yeah. Yeah. This generation that is coming up has only ever known everybody gets a trophy. And everybody gets a trophy has been around for 20 years, if not longer. And the problem with everybody gets a trophy is that nobody ever tries to achieve beyond what they're currently their current circumstance is. Everybody's like, oh, so poor me. And oh, I got a trophy back in elementary school for doing this thing. And in fact, oh, everybody got a trophy for doing that same thing. So nobody did a good job. So it goes back to the feelings thing, right? We're all allergic to hurting people's feelings. When you hurt people's feelings, there's two types of people. So say there's a big fat man, right? And somebody hurts his feelings for how fat he is. Now there's the one that's going to go eat more and just drown his sorrows in the food. And then there's the other one that's going to go, I'm getting sick of this. I'm getting to the gym. I don't care who's laughing at me. And I'm going to lose this and I'm going to be better. And we've done away with that one. We've done away so nobody is mean anymore. And everybody,
because we've praised the other one. We've upheld victimhood above heroism. And since we uphold victimhood above heroism, the former that just goes and eats, we've put that person up on a pedestal.
Oh, good for you. You're living your best life. When in fact his future is knee surgeries, his future is
heart problems,
diabetes, heart problems. And this is the Lizzos of the world. She's like, oh, I'm accepting this like huge, like not just kind of rotund. She's huge. And there's a problem with this society who says, we accept you the way you are. We're doing this to ourselves. And
hopefully we'll get down into this valley
where
where stuff starts to fall the shit apart.
It's already happening.
But then we
in entertainment.
Come out of it. Yeah.
So in entertainment,
entertainment. Yeah.
In entertainment, Michael and I are very interested in entertainment. We always talk about movies and stuff like that. But lately, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know what's going on in the Star Wars universe, so Star Wars was bought by Disney back in like 2012, and they've been pumping out content based in the Star Wars world for a long time. Well, the most recent one was The Acolyte, and it was basically DEI cult bite model all the way. They hired a woman to run the show based on her sexuality and not what she had done in the past, and she probably had a few connections in the entertainment industry because she was Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. So she gets hired for her sexuality. She makes this show that's all about DEI. It's all about
sexuality and diversity,
equity, inclusion. It's all about people's sexuality and their feelings and all this kind of stuff. And they basically run the lore of the 1970s when Star Wars came out. They run the lore amok. They throw it away. They don't deal with it. It's terrible storytelling. It's victimized storytelling. It's nobody likes this. Like all of the shills in the media, they're talking about how great it is. But if you go online, if you go to any Reddit forum, or if you go to YouTube, there's a bunch
they
of
removed
YouTubers.
The Rotten Tomatoes,
and they even removed
the Rotten Tomatoes
audience score. The audience score. The Rotten Tomatoes audience score was it started at, I think it was like 30%, then it went to like 15%, and it just dropped as the show was going on. All this is to say, to get to the point, is that the DEI in entertainment is already putting people off. People aren't going to movies anymore. They've had some really bad box office flops lately, very, very noticeable flops that people were just like, I'm done with all this DEI stuff. For example, making a woman the boss babe or whatever, the boss bitch, I think is what might have made Furiosa a flop. Because that was a very evident flop, because everybody was seeing the trailer to it. They're like, I don't.
Yeah, the trailer actually made it worse off than the film
movie
itself
did.
was.
Yeah. And the movie, and you and I both reviewed it here. We liked it.
Yeah.
The point is that people saw it and they're like, oh, it looks like she's just this domineering over all the men, and she's taking down the patriarchy, and people are sick of this. Like, people in general, movie audiences are kind of sick of this. It turns out that women often like their men to be men, and men often like their women to be women, and not swapping them. And so all of this is to say that it looks like in the entertainment industry that maybe this is all kind of dying. However, we got maybe 3 or 4 years left of this, of some of this stuff. I mean, Barbie last year was the biggest hit of the summer. So
who knows?
But I would say that Barbie was a hit because of brand awareness, not necessarily of the message of the movie, which was that all men are evil and bad.
None of this is to say that, that people shouldn't have women in their workforce, that African Americans, the whole diversity isn't a problem in and of itself. It's when you lower the standards to meet the diversity, is where we have the problem,
where we run
right?
into
Where
mediocrity,
you lower
right?
where you remove competency so that you can feel good about yourself, or not hurt feelings, or
check
whatever.
The box. It's just to check the box.
I think it all started in colleges, when people got so hung up on not hurting feelings in colleges, and we're starting to see that in the workforce now. That's my personal
but it has infected
thought.
Almost every aspect of daily life. Politics, religion. It's affecting religion. It's affecting the entertainment industry. It's been affecting the entertainment industry for a long time. It's affecting relationships. I would argue that there were more divorces after COVID than at any other time in our history. That's just from personal knowledge, not necessarily. I don't have any stats on that. The Microsoft stuff, like, those people are supposed to be the best of the best, right? Apple computers, Microsoft computer, like, those are supposed to be the best of the best. We should not have seen that catastrophic of a failure. And like, little failures are good. Like, those are what teach people something. But who's to say that the inner workings? I highly doubt. I think people are going to try to get Agent Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, fired. I would highly doubt that it happens, because we've seen this before, right? With the Afghanistan pullout, nobody was fired over that. Not one person was fired from that.
Yeah.
Debacle. And that's another DEI thing. We're going to keep these people in the.
We don't know for sure how DEI may have played a part in that, but a lack of meritocracy
does play a huge part in that.
This is kind of, we're talking DEI, but also just rewarding people on merit, and then moving away from that, and not rewarding people on merit. But that's, I think, where we're running into problems just across the board. And it's not necessarily just that it's only about the diversity, but it's also just about the fact that we haven't upheld merit. It's kind of etched away at our ability to just, and this goes back to not worshiping heroes anymore. Like, we've killed all the heroes.
Yeah.
And so, and a hero, generally speaking, is competent, right? So if you don't uphold competency anymore, then you're going to get this.
Well, and you get a vacuous leadership as well. Like, everything seems, there's a lot of you know, if you take away people's ability to fire people when they do a bad job, then leadership kind of falls apart as well. You should be able to look at people and go, get it together, do better. And if they don't, you should be able to fire them. You should be able to go, okay, you're gone. Give people chances. It cannot be forever. You cannot give people chances forever. I don't have any good examples. I think, you know, Steve Jobs was fired from his own company, you know, and then he came back, then they hired him back, and then he helps to invent the iPod.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean,
So
they
maybe
hired
he
him
made,
back because they needed him.
well, maybe he
So that
made
was a
the,
merit thing,
well,
right?
maybe he made the appropriate changes in his personality too. Who's to say?
Maybe.
Do you have anything else to add to that, brother? Did we get
No,
to
I think that's good.
Tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah, audience, tell us in the comments, how do we fix this?
Check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you guys are listening to this and not watching it, please go to YouTube, give us a like, share, and subscribe. And in the meantime, keep reading, keep listening, keep watching, learn more. We'll see you, brother.
See ya.